Dan in giving the lead car, the green flag will also display the yellow flag in a permanent held position. Now, as they proceed around the track and maintain their order, and we blow some of that dust out of that number 1 corner, they will, when the condition is right, he will switch the yellow flag to a white flag, again holding it in a permanent position. The indication to the lead car with the white flag is a indication to the entire field that on the next lap, on the next crossing of the finish line, the lead car will get the green flag for an all-express out race.
Is that a rule just put in to use these flags in this fashion, or is this a normal rule for a restart, Ray? Or
well, we have this condition here right now, and I'm sure Len can fill us in on the USAC rules. The condition we have here is one, we don't want to give the lead car too much lead over the entire field. Jim Herderby says he's out to win $100,000, and let's keep this thing moving. That was his interruption.
Sounds like Jimmy, huh?
And so that they still want to make sure that the driver's goggles are not going to pick up this dust, which is very, very difficult to sweep up. So they'll do this. In the meantime, the timing and scoring floor will be maintaining the record of the order, and in the event that any man changes his position and you see a black flag come out, it means that on the back stretch where there isn't a timing and scoring booth, one of the boys got a little frisky and thought he ought to improve his position. And Len, technically you can pick up from here, I'm sure.
I'm sure that the rule was made at the starting line right at the moment. A rule like this is something that could not be covered because how often would you have this sort of situation? So I'm sure that the holding the yellow flag still and then bringing out the white is something that was to take care of this particular situation.
Thank you, Len, and Ray, thank you too, and come back and see us later on in the day. I certainly sorry about Dan Gurney, because Dan has worked so hard. Sorry about all these boys, but Gurney's worked so hard to get these Eagles in. He spent a year. He missed the race in Monaco last week to be sure and be here and get practice. Right, Lynn?
Yes, and I was just noting of the different teams that are out. The Dan Gurney Eagles only won. The Jim Robbins team lost 2 cars. They were the most unfortunate. Now back to you, Sid. I think the engines are starting to run.
Yes, they've started the call for the engines to be restarted, which they are doing. These cars are lined up, and maybe John DeCamp can give them the order of the lineup again for the restart of the 500.
Sid, this is the way they're going to start in single file. Mario Andretti, the leader, in car number 1. Car number 19, Jimmy Clark, second. Car 82, George Snyder, third. Car 98, Parnelli Jones, fourth. Car number 14, Lloyd Ruby, fifth. In sixth, Gordon Johncock, but I believe Gordon's in the pit having a little work done on his car before he goes out. In the next spot, in sixth place, car number 3, Jim McElreath. In seventh, car number 12, Chuck Hulse. In eighth, car number 88, Jerry Grant. In ninth, car number 43, Jackie Stewart. In 10th, car number 26, Roger Ward. In the 11th spot, car number 28, and that is Johnny Boyd. In the next spot, car number 24, Graham Hill. Then a couple of questionable starters who were still in the pit, car 94 and car 6. Here's Sid.
Let's move around now. Number 1 turn, Mike Ahern picked him up.
And just now passing our vantage point, Mario Andretti, the fans are on their feet waving these drivers on now as they come through that cloud of dust in the number 1 turn. They're in the short chute. Looks pretty good from here. Number 2, Howdy Bell.
And the fans are all craning once again to get a look at this field as they come slowly into this number 2 turn, the southeast turn here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There's Mario Andretti going by us right now. And a few yards back, Jimmy Clark, then George Snyder, and then Parnelli Jones right on his tail as the field slowly moves through the second turn. And they head up that long backstretch. And I think Doug Zink is probably over there and can see Andretti.
Yes, we can, Howdy. The fans on their feet now in anticipation. Here goes Mario Andretti and Jimmy Clark about 10 car lengths behind. Then George Snyder in 82. And in fourth place is Parnelli Jones, followed by Lloyd Ruby. And they're heading now toward turn number 3 at a reduced speed and into the viewpoint of Ron Carroll.
Right you are, Doug. I have them now. The yellow light conspicuously on. Here comes Mario Andretti right now. Past us, Jimmy Clark goes by. Gordon Johncock goes by. They move into number 4 and Jim Shelton.
Well, this is a little bit different, Ron, than we saw it before. This is a fine start again, if you can call it that. They're all spread out in single file, and we want our listeners around the world to know that. And into the home stretch, still Andretti leading. Very cool, calm, and collected. And here's Sid Collins.
Well, Jim, I shouldn't be surprised if this weren't the first time ever in the history of the 500 the race started under the yellow flag. Harlan Fengler is motioning both hands, palms downward, to take it easy. Just go around and clean off the dust, blow it off down there, and now they go into the number 1 turn. Let's follow around again, gentlemen. Mike, come in.
Okay, Sid, and Mario Andretti just now going through that cloud of dust that's diminishing somewhat. Of course, each time they go one more lap around, that cloud of dust will be less conspicuous. They're about halfway through the field. They're driving by now in very good order. Spread out about 4 or 5 car lengths at a turn 2, and howdy bell.
And that colorful machine of Andretti goes right through our turn. There's Jimmy Clark, George Snyder, and Farnelli Jones. They're about 10 or 15 yards apart at this point as the cars starting in this restart of the 500 move up the backstretch to Doug Zink.
Thank you, Howdy. And Mario Andretti running down low on the track right now. And Jimmy Clark right behind him. The breeze seems to have picked up on the backstretch. It's cool and crisp back here as they head toward turn number 3 and Ron Carroll.
All right, Doug, I have them once again. Mario Andretti moving into us. A cloud cover over the number 3 turn right now. Andretti going by, Jimmy Clark. And back in the field, we see Lloyd Ruby, Chuck Hulse, Jim McElreath. They move into number 4 again, Jim Sheldon.
Well, here in number 4, they have bunched up a little closer now, and the speed seems to have picked up maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour up here. They're now in the home stretch, still spread out, and still very calm, cool, and collected. And once again, let's go to the tower, and here is Sid.
Joey Leonard, Carl Williams, and Mel Kenyon have just gone to the racetrack. They were allowed to work on their cars as soon as the race began under the yellow, which they did, and now they come by again. This is a second lap under the yellow, and they're roaring by very slowly. Len, how fast would you say they're going right now?
About 80 miles an hour, I'd say, Sid. I think this is about the speed they're going to try to hold the cars down to.
All right, well, they're going around again. Let's break for 60 seconds. Now stay tuned for the greatest spectacle in racing. Cars have gone by now for 2 laps under the yellow, and Pat Vadan, the chief starter, is still holding the yellow. Here comes Mario Andretti. This is the 3rd lap. They're coming by now to start. And let's pick them up once again, gentlemen, until we get the green going. Mike Ahern on number 1.
Mario Andretti just now negotiating the first turn. Al Unser just pulled out of the pits here a moment ago. He's having a little trouble, looked like, and he rolled the track apron around turn number 2. However, the others are doing very well. In nice order, they're coming by here. Everybody lined up. Turn number 2, and howdy bells.
And here comes Mario Andretti right now through this second turn and up the backstretch in perfect order, in single file. You mentioned Al Unser seems to be having some difficulty with his engine, and he was much slower than the rest of the field. Doug Zink.
Thank you, Howdy. The cars are staggered back here as Andretti, Clark, Snyder, Jones, Ruby, and all of them flash by here and head toward turn number 3. Unser was moving very, very slowly, apparently having trouble getting the car in gear. To Ron Carroll now.
Right, Doug, and we spotted Al Unser, and there is some smoke coming out from underneath his car. I don't know what it is the matter with it, but it may be headed into the pits. Mario Andretti by us right now, so to number 4 and Jim Shelton.
All right, Ron, thank you very much. Al Unser's car is cutting out, and he looked as if he were going to go into the pits. They just passed up here again. Mario Andretti, Clark in 19, Snyder in 82, and here's Sid Collins.
The yellow is still out. Pat Vadan is holding it, hasn't even reached for the green, so they'll give it plenty of time, again, in the interest of safety and being sure these boys are in the best possible situation to run the race. We have 500 miles to go, but there's no rush. And I don't see very much dust, Len, coming up right now as they go by down there. Just a few more laps, you think?
I believe in about 2 laps we'll see it. As a matter of fact, that Harlan and Pat Vadan are consulting one another at this moment. Harlan just handed him the white flag, and I believe he's It could be possible that the white flag will be shown the next lap, which means then the following lap, the green will be shown. Now back to you, Sid.
Double check. Thank you, Len, as they come around. Harlan, as you say, has handed the white flag to Pat, and Pat is still holding the yellow out at the present time, waiting for Mario Andretti to come around because he's the man who leads the field. And he will set the pace and, of course, keep it down to around 70 to 85 miles an hour. Len?
Yes, I'd like to note at this time all the cars that were in the pits will be penalized the one lap, as they weren't able to actually move out of the pits until after the other cars had started. That would be car number 77, number 6, number 94, 72, and 54. Those cars have all left the pits and would have a one-lap penalty or one-lap deficit.
The white flag is out now as Mario comes down the main stretch. And we'll follow them around and call this, if you like, the pace lap, so to speak. This is the lap before the green. And Mario waves to his pit crew as he goes by. Let's pick them up in turn number 1 and follow around Mike Ahern.
Coming through turn number 1, there is absolutely no dust at all now in that number 1 corner. Looking very good. Andretti going by. Clark. Then there's Snyder and Parnelli Jones. Down into turn number 2. Good shape right here. Now Howdy Bell.
And Mario Andretti goes through. There's Jimmy Clark, George Snyder, Parnelli Jones, and Lloyd Ruby as the pace starts to pick up just a little bit here as they move up to the backstretch toward Doug Zink.
And they remain in that order as they go past the halfway point here on the backstretch. Apparently Al Unser, correcting his troubles, is running now at a faster rate of speed. The cars are heading now toward turn number 3 and Ron Carroll.
Right you are, Doug, and Mario Andretti bias right now. Jimmy Clark, George Snyder, Parnelli Jones. They move into number 4, Jim Shelton.
Thank you very much, and as Doug said, I believe that Al Unser has everything corrected now. Well, they're in that home stretch, and let's see what happens. And here's the voice of the 500, Sid Collins.
Starting on the 5th lap, the green flag is out, and the race is on. Let's pick them up in number 1, Mike Ahern.
And barreling into the first turn, it's Mario Andretti with the lead, but Clark is right on his tail, followed by Parnelli Jones. And Andretti leads by about 2 car lengths. Number 2 corner and Howdy Bell.
Out of the short chute into number 2, it's Andretti with Jim Clark about 10 yards behind him. Then George Snyder. Then Parnelli Jones as we call on Doug Zink up the backstretch.
Up the backstretch, and Jimmy Clark pulling past Mario Andretti, pulling up alongside. It's a battle as they head toward turn number 3.
Now the number 1 turn, come in Mike Ahern.
We've had an accident here on the number 1 turn, right at the very end of the turn, going into the short chute. Johnny Boyd's car spun, and the car made contact with the outside wall, but he's all right. Boyd hops out of the car, sprints across the track and into the infield, and he looks disgusted, but he's all right. And the car is resting now broadside against the wall, and oil is leaking out of there fiercely. The safety crews are on the track now, and it'll take some more time here to clean up that mess, but Johnny Boyd is all right, and his car went into a spin. He got out of it, and we've got another wreck here in turn number 1. Back to you, Sid in the tower.
This was supposed to be the year that Johnny Boyd was going to make a big show here, and he'd been determined all month, and we're very sorry about that indeed, that Johnny wasn't able to complete this race and go out so early. We'll be back now in just a minute. Now stay tuned for the greatest spectacle in racing.